My house was still smoking when Karen marched up, clipboard in hand, like she was judge, jury, and executioner of suburbia. "Your bushes," she spat, pointing at the blackened twigs that used to be my front yard, "are a violation of HOA Code 7.2.1. I stood there, clutching the only thing I'd saved, a singed photo of my late mom, wondering if I'd somehow slipped into a nightmare. This wasn't just any day. It was the day after the wildfire tore through Pinewood Estates, a sleepy California subdivision where I'd lived for 3 years. I'm Emily Carter, 29, a graphic designer who moved here to start fresh after Mom passed. Pinewood was supposed to be my safe haven, tidy lawns, friendly neighbors, and a homeowners association that promised to keep standards high. I bought a modest 2-bedroom with a scrappy garden I'd been slowly turning into something Mom would have loved. The HOA, though they were less about community and more about control, and Karen Mitchell, the HOA president, was their queen bee. Karen was the kind of woman who'd measure your grass with a ruler and leave passive-aggressive notes about your mailbox color. 50-something, always in crisp blouses, she had a smile that never reached her eyes. She'd been hounding me about my non-compliant rose bushes for months. Too tall, too wild, too unkempt for Pinewood's aesthetic. I'd planned to trim them, but life got in the way. Deadlines, grief, a leaking roof. Then the wildfire hit, and my world turned to ash. The fire started in the hills, fanned by Santa Ana winds. It moved like a monster, swallowing homes in hours. I barely got out with my cat, Whiskers, and that photo of Mom. By morning, half the neighborhood was gone, including my house. Neighbors huddled in the street, sharing water and stories of what they'd lost. I was sifting through the rubble, hoping to find my mom's old locket, when Karen appeared. "Emily, this is serious," she said, her voice cutting through the crackle of distant sirens. "Your negligence contributed to this disaster." I blinked, sure I'd misheard. My house was a pile of charcoal, and she was blaming me. She thrust a violation notice at me, citing my overgrown bushes as a fire hazard. I laughed, a brittle, broken sound. "Karen, my house is gone. What do you want me to do? Trim the ashes?" Her eyes narrowed. "Rules are rules. You'll be hearing from our lawyer." She turned on her heel, leaving me standing in the wreckage, the notice fluttering to the ground. I should have known then that Karen wasn't just petty, she was dangerous. The next week was a blur of insurance calls, hotel stays, and salvaging what little I could. My neighbors were kind. Mrs. Lopez brought me tamales, and Jake, the guy across the street, offered his guest room, but the weight of losing everything crushed me. Then the letter arrived, a lawsuit from the HOA, claiming my negligent landscaping had exacerbated the fire's spread, seeking $50,000 in damages for community losses. I read it 3 times, my hands shaking. They were suing me, a fire victim, for not trimming my damn bushes. I couldn't afford a lawyer, not with my savings drained and no home to return to. But I wasn't going down without a fight. I started digging into the HOA's rules, poring over their 50-page handbook. It was mind-numbing codes about fence heights, paint colors, even the approved types of bird feeders. But nothing in there said untrimmed bushes could cause a wildfire. I called the fire department, and they confirmed what I suspected: the blaze was sparked by a downed power line. Not my yard. Karen's lawsuit was built on lies. The real problem was the HOA's obsession with control. They'd been fining people for years over trivial nonsense: $100 for a crooked mailbox, $200 for unapproved holiday lights. Karen had turned Pinewood into her personal fiefdom, and now she was using the fire to flex her power. I wasn't her only target. Jake got a fine for unauthorized debris, his burned garage, and Mrs. Lopez was cited for excessive ash on her driveway. It was absurd, but Karen's influence ran deep. Half the HOA board were her cronies, and the other half were too scared to cross her. I decided to fight back at the next HOA meeting, scheduled at the community center a month after the fire. I spent days preparing, gathering evidence, fire department reports, photos of my charred yard, even emails from Karen harassing me about my bushes pre-fire. I wasn't just fighting for myself, I was fighting for everyone she'd bullied. But I was nervous. Karen had a way of twisting words, making you feel small. I needed backup. That's when I met Sam. He showed up at my hotel one evening, a wiry guy in his 40s with a beard and a conspiratorial grin. "Heard you're taking on Karen," he said, handing me a coffee. Sam was a former Pinewood resident who'd moved away after a run-in with the HOA. "She tried to fine me for my dog's barking," he said. "I fought it and won. Want help?" His story was a twist I hadn't expected, a glimmer of hope. Sam was a paralegal with a knack for digging up dirt, and he hated Karen as much as I did. Together, we uncovered something big. The HOA's finances were a mess. Karen had been funneling maintenance fees into a shady landscaping company owned by her brother-in-law. The same company, it turned out, had been hired to assess fire damage in Pinewood, conveniently blaming residents like me. Sam found emails between Karen and the company, hinting at kickbacks. It wasn't just petty, it was corrupt. The HOA meeting was packed. Neighbors filled the community center, some angry, others curious. Karen stood at the podium, her usual smug self, reading off violation notices like she was handing out royal decrees. When it was my turn to speak, my heart pounded. I walked to the front, clutching my folder of evidence, and laid it all out: the fire department's report, the HOA's baseless lawsuit, and Karen's financial shenanigans. Gasps rippled through the room. Jake stood up, holding his own fine. "She's suing me too," he shouted. Mrs. Lopez chimed in, her voice trembling with rage. "My driveway's ash, and she wants $500. Karen's face turned red. "This is slander," she screeched, slamming her clipboard. "You're all in violation." But the room was turning against her. Sam stepped forward, cool as a cucumber, and dropped the bombshell: the emails. He'd printed them, big and bold, and passed them around. Neighbors whispered. Phones came out, and someone, I swear it was Jake, started live streaming. Karen tried to shut it down, but it was too late. The truth was out, and it was viral. The climax came when Mrs. Lopez, sweet old Mrs. Lopez, stood up and pointed at Karen. "You lost your house too," she said, her voice breaking. "But instead of helping us, you're punishing us." Why? The room went silent. Karen's mouth opened, but no words came. For the first time, she looked small, exposed. I saw a flicker of something in her eyes: guilt. Maybe, but it vanished fast. She stormed out, muttering about legal action. The fallout was swift. The video of the meeting blew up online, racking up millions of views. The Karen HOA trended for days. Reporters swarmed Pinewood, and the HOA's shady dealings made national news. Karen resigned as president, but not before the state launched an investigation into the HOA's finances. Her brother-in-law's company was shut down, and last I heard, Karen was facing lawsuits of her own. Ironic. Right, the HOA dropped their case against me, and the community voted in a new board, one that actually cared about rebuilding. I never got my house back. Insurance covered some, but I'm starting over in a new town. Whiskers and I are okay, though, and I've got Mom's photo on my new desk. The locket never found it. But I found something else: strength. Karen thought she could break me, but she didn't. She underestimated us all. What do you think ever dealt with a Karen who took things too far? Share your story below. Let's talk about standing up to bullies, HOA or otherwise.